So I'm over here at my buddy Tom's with his Kitfox again, this time to look at the gear. And a good place, I think, to start is what's wrong with the standard gear? You wanted more travel? More independent travel, I should say?
The first time I did this was on a Kitfox 2, Model 2. And I've done it on 4 different Kitfoxes and 1 Highlander, and it's worked very good. The reason I did it was on the Model 2 and all the early Kitfoxes, this was kind of a A-frame in here with a lever that went over towards the center, and then your bungee cords were wrapped up around this truss and the end of that A-frame, and then when you hit hard, it would come down and stretch the bungees in the center of the airframe.
So like a torsion bar kind of thing on a truck?
That's correct.
Right.
Okay, well, when I did the Model 2, I wanted longer gear on it. So I ordered some gear off of Airedale. I think he was fabricating longer gear, so I put it on there, but it was the same gear, only just built longer. And I got in my conversation with Airedale, he told me most of his time he spent reconstructing this truss that goes through here from hard landings.
Yes.
Hard landings would buckle the truss when it pulled on the bungees.
Right.
Now I'm thinking, well, now I put longer gear on it, got the same arm on it here because they can only go halfway across the fuselage.
Right.
So I'm thinking now I'm putting more stress on that truss. So I thought, how can I counteract that? And that's when I came up with this idea about this cable going from axle to axle with bungee cords here up to the aft connection.
Yes, a far more secure place to mount it, as well as it's a steel cable, not a bar.
Only on the Model 2, I didn't have the cabane system. I had still the stock Kitfox wrapped around the truss, but not as tight. It was very loosely wrapped around the truss. And then this was a secondary. And it worked so good that I just kind of kept doing it. And I ended up building a cabane system with this, but I can build a cabane system real light and not wrapped real tight.
Yes, right.
Most of your gear, if you're not hitting hard, it's sucked up to the stops, and this is floating in the center all the time.
Right. Yeah, and I've seen that one landing, and we put it on the channel, where the left-hand gear probably comes up close to 2 feet.
Yeah,
yet your wings were still level.
I've had people say that was scary or a bad thing, and it never even bothered me because I knew that the gear would take it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me flex this gear a little bit for you. See, that gear is just floating in the center.
Right, exactly. So the good thing is wings can be stable and the ground can do that. Right? So everything.
It's a little bit like the Highlander Superstol. The Superstol gear is never sucked up tight against the stops.
Right.
It's floating in the center, so it's a little bit of a weird feeling when you're taxiing or landing, taking off. The wings are going like this, and you'd think it'd be bad, but it's really not. It doesn't hurt a thing. It's just that the gear is able to move.
So the one time I've seen it do that was you were taking off at the side of our house. So you turned around and you came round the corner before you went full throttle. Yeah. And the wings then dipped quite a long way. Yeah. Because I think as you were just finishing your turn, you still had some momentum from the turn that made the one side dip down. And it made the wing tip dip a long way. But of course, from a gear perspective, it probably only moved a few inches.
Yeah. I've had a lot of people ask me about this gear. I've been promising to put a video out for a couple of years now. And I give you some quick measurements on it. This gear is built very light. And actually, I'll back up a little bit. The first time I went into Ralph's place, I I actually bent a rod end. Now these are only 1/4 inch rod ends, they're not very big. But I actually bent a rod end. And took me a time I got it home and repaired it, I realized what had happened. It wasn't from the hard landing. What I hit something that was only momentarily compressed the gear, but then it was gone and it let the gear rebound too quick.
Ah, right. So it rebounded to its stop.
It rebounded up to the stop here. So what I did to fix that, of course I replaced the rod end, but the tube inside this tube that actually telescopes in and out, I shortened
Yes,
by
right.
another inch or inch and a quarter.
Right, because you got plenty of overlap on those tubes.
Plenty in there. And it took care, the other thing I did on that was I welded a cap on the end of that rod, the inner rod, thinking that by lessening the volume inside that telescoping tubes, it might, as it comes back in, have to get rid of that air.
Yeah, give a bit of damping to it.
Give a little dampening to it. But I've had people ask me the dimensions on this gear. That gear there, the front leg is about 30 inches long. The aft leg is about 34 inches long. And I think this is one inch tube on, it's 1.15 in diameter, outside diameter. I can't tell you what the thickness is anymore. But this is just, I think, like 1/2 inch tube. Yeah, this is 1/2 inch tube outside diameter. So it's built very light, but I can get away with that because of the way it's so flexible.
Have you ever thought you wanted to go heavier?
No. No.
Yeah, was it 550?
530.
530, the total weight.
Weighs 530 pounds.
You got 50 pounds right there in that gear.
With the 100 horsepower engine and the 82 inch Cato prop.
Yeah.
It's 130 pounds.
Right. So when you then went to build the similar gear for Mighty Mouse, for the other Kitfox that we have on the channel, what did you do differently? You raked it further forwards, didn't you?
What we did differently was we took the stock, this part of the stock gear, and just lengthened it out, and then we added the conveying system to it. It ended up with that one, the axle is a little bit further back than on this one.
Ah, right.
I like this one a little bit better because I don't have any problem with it wanting to tip forward.
That's why Rick ground looped his a few months back and you haven't.
Well,
Maybe.
I don't know that. It really shouldn't have any effect on ground looping other than it'll make the tail light when you land.
It gives the engine more moment though, doesn't it, if the axles are further back? But, so you could go even further forwards if you wanted to.
You could, but I like this right where it's at. I won't change that on this. And it's really hard to tell here without a square or something, but I'm going to say that the axle, is right about here, halfway between the front two connections.
Is there a reason that you didn't use the front and back frame connections to make it a little stronger?
It's hard to see, but this is actually, from this point in, it angles in.
Ah,
so
right.
It's not in a straight line.
Yeah. It's not far off, but it's, I see what you mean. So is there anything that you would do differently on the third one?
No.
Fourth one, not third one.
No.
The fourth one.
This has worked very well.
And you've changed the bungee tension a couple of times, is that right?
No, not really. Maybe once when I first put it together, thinking I would need it tighter. And I thought too that I'll put new bungees on it every year or 2 years, which you're supposed to do anyways. But I haven't needed to do that because there's not that much there's not that much strain on the bungees.
Yeah, they're very
See that
soft.
They're not wrapped real tight.
And under here, is it like a 4-ply bungee? 1, 2, 3,
This is
4, 5, 6.
smaller bungees under here. It's a 3/8 inch black bungee I got from Aircraft Spruce, and it's probably about 6 wraps.
Yeah.
But there again, they're not wrapped
Not wrapped real
pulled
tight.
real tight.
Exactly. Well, after people look at this video, they can then go to the other video of you landing on the front hill
Yeah.
and watch the movement of it, because it's really quite amazing to see how far the wheels will move. Be interesting to see how it would do with even bigger tires, but probably exactly the
See, the
same.
problem with bigger tires is you add a lot more weight to it,
Yeah, sure.
and I don't like that. I like bigger tires, but I'm not going to put all that weight on it.
Yeah, and it's not like we have too many gopher holes to lose them into.
No.
So that's
And if this was a heavier airplane made to take heavier loads, then you ask the question, would you go heavier? I possibly would go heavier with the tubing and everything, but I'd still use this system.
yes. Yeah, you could scale this up. Well, down would be tough because it's pretty small, but you could scale this up for all kinds of different
That's exactly right.
aircraft. Are you going to do this on Sean's S20?
No, he's got expensive gear on it,
Right.
and he's not going to take that into the places I wanted to take this into. Like your yard.
Yeah, like my front yard, exactly. Not many people would take it to my front yard. All right, I think that's some good detail on this, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, if you have any questions, Ralph can get a hold of
Ping
me.
a comment, and we'll pass it through to Tom.